Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Albert, and today I'm going to talk to you about a project that I call Building the Blueprints for Improved Cancer Treatment. And before I start, I'd like to acknowledge the people I work with. On the left, you can see the members of our lab, and at the top there, you can see my professor, Netta Bagheri. And on the right, you can see our sources of funding, and I'd like to thank them very much. Now into my research. Cancer. It's a problem. Suffice it to say that many people are affected by it. Hundreds of millions of people suffer from this disease every year, and we all personally know someone who has it. And it's a big problem. There's been countless hours of research that have been poured into it, and it's still here. Last year, 90% of all cancer drugs failed to reach the market. What I mean is, people spent millions of dollars and thousands of man-hours to develop these drugs, and 90% of them failed when they tested it in humans. They didn't do their job. Now, why is that? I'm going to illustrate this with an analogy. Now, imagine I asked you to build this house, and I handed you a full, complete set of blueprints, such as shown here. You could do it. You've got the instructions. You've got how it's made. But that's not how it works in the world of cancer. What we have is this. We have blueprints that are not yet complete. Through years of research, we have figured out quite a lot about how cancer works, how it operates, but they're not complete. There's parts missing. And if you wanted to develop drugs to cure cancer, to cure this blueprint, well, it's not going to work very well because you don't have the entire thing. There are many ways on how to complete this blueprint, how to construct it. And the one I work with is something called network inference. Specifically, what I actually do is on improving network inference. Before I delve into what network inference is, I need to explain a little bit of biology. So inside all of us are these little things called proteins. Proteins are the workhorses of all living systems. They make up quite a lot of what our body is. They make up our muscle, our bone, quite a lot of things that are in our blood are proteins. And there's a special type of proteins called signal proteins. And what these guys do is that they make signals to other signal proteins, which then make more signals to other signal proteins, and this generates some kind of large response. So a very well-known signal protein is insulin. And when the diabetic patient takes insulin, it'll control the sugar levels in their body, and it saves their lives. So just from one little signal protein, we get a large effect that'd be saving their lives. Pretty big. Now, another way of representing how this signal protein works is in something called a network. So a network is just a representation, and we represent the signal proteins using circles and arrows. The circles are the proteins, and the arrows are the interactions where the signal goes. And in this little example, I've drawn up just a made-up network. And these networks are a type of blueprint that we can use. So say in this network, we have some kind of protein, in this case, protein I, that we want to inhibit. We want to stop it from signaling in order to kill cancer. In reality, we don't have drugs that can target every single protein. There's thousands of proteins. In this example, we can only have drugs that stop the signaling of either protein A or protein B. And we want a way so that when we inhibit one of these proteins, it'll also inhibit protein I. So just looking at the network, we can see there's a path of arrows from A to I. So we would want to apply a drug to A, which would stop it from signaling, which eventually also stops I from signaling. And so this is what networks do. They inform therapy strategies. But there's a pretty central problem to these networks and to cancer in general, is that they are context specific. This means that is the signal protein network in a lung cancer cell the same as in, say, bone or skin or brain? No, they're actually very different. Even within the same organ, even within liver cancer, there's several different types, and they're all also very different. And if they've got different signal protein networks, then your strategy to kill the cancer will be drastically different. So with all these types of networks, that becomes a problem. We need to figure out a way to be able to account for all of these. And so enter a strategy that we use called the network inference. And this is the world that I live in. So in network inference, we take computers and we take some kind of data from the tumor, say lung or liver, and the computer is able to infer what the network was. It tries to look underneath the hood of the car to figure out what was there. And from that, we can get a network for each context. And then with this network, we can then generate informed drug therapy strategies for each individual context. Now, there's 5 different types of network inference, and I could spend all day talking about each individual type. If you want more details, you can ask me during the intermission. I'd be glad to explain more. But it's enough to know that of these 5 types, none of them are perfect. They all make errors, which if you're making a network to predict how the drug works, that could be a major problem. So this is what I do. This is the crux of exactly my world. I'm trying to take each one of these individual methods, and I'm trying to figure out what does it do correctly. I'm trying to identify the strengths and the weaknesses, and I'm trying to pull the strengths, and I try to put it together into one composite community method that's overall stronger than the individual members. And with this community method, we can make more accurate networks that have better predictions and go on to inform better cancer treatments. So this is the world that we live in right now. We have the blueprint. It's not yet complete, but by applying my methods to improve network inference, we're hoping to get better networks and better predictions, so that finally we have this. This is the final goal. We have a full blueprint set for each individual type of cancer, for each context. My name is Albert Hsu, and I'm a member of the Models Lab, and I'm improving network inference for more accurate networks to improve blueprints to finally give us better cancer treatments. Thank you for your time.